Hello, my name is Tonya Nicole Williams, and this is my PowerPoint presentation for Module 6 for CS 520 at the University of West Alabama on algorithms and fake news. What are algorithms? They are invisible but essential computer programs and formulas that increasingly run our modern lives. They are designed to repeatedly solve recurrent problems or to make decisions on their own. It is impossible to run global markets without them. They can also be refined down to produce personalized quotes on everything from mortgage quotes to plane tickets. They run Google searches, social media news feeds, recommend articles or videos, and sometimes censor questionable content. Other algorithms charged with the most complex and sensitive tasks can be opaque black boxes, which develop their own artificial intelligence based on our data. What is fake news? We've heard a lot about fake news lately. Fake news refers to the intentionally untrue articles, often about politics, that aimed to inflame people's sensibilities or pander to them to get the piece widely shared. And I found these three images from Bing, and the one I like the most is the one on the left that says, "Breaking, countless people on Facebook still sharing fake news sites, disregarding any use of logic or critical thinking." The middle one says, "Sharing fake news sites makes you look like a fool." And the one on the right, "Did you mean fake news?" in quotes. The rise of fake news and the proliferation of doctored narratives that are spread by humans and bots online are challenging publishers and platforms. Those trying to stop the spread of false information are working to design technical and human systems that can weed it out and minimize the ways in which bots and other schemes spread lies and misinformation. This is from Baker, 2019. Fake news and Facebook. Fake news has become its very own export commodity. Facebook became riddled with the stuff and soon became associated with it. An example was the whole Russian ad scandal, which suggested the U.S. election was heavily influenced by the Kremlin through targeted Facebook ads. Facebook's reputation in the world was taking a battering after this. Facebook's response was, they said, the problem is that Facebook users aren't always good at distinguishing legitimate news sources from satire, propaganda, or just plain false information. And if bad information goes viral, it can negatively influence the public's opinion. Facebook's response to the controversy was to fire the contractors and let its algorithm decide which stories appear in the trending news box. They had some new changes as well. They are assessing the quality of the content being shared and the authority of the people who are sharing it, and they are burying content that doesn't meet quality standards. On its website, Facebook offers some tips regarding fake news. They say, be skeptical of headlines. False news stories often have catchy headlines in all caps with exclamation points. If shocking claims in the headlines sound unbelievable, they probably are. They also say to look closely at the link. A phony or look-alike link may be a warning sign of false news. Many false news sites mimic authentic news sources by making small changes to the link. You can go to the site to compare the link to established sources. Thirdly, they say to investigate the source. Ensure that the story is written by a source that you trust with a reputation for accuracy. If the story comes from an unfamiliar organization, check their, quote, about section to learn more. The fourth tip they offer is to watch for unusual formatting. Many false news sites have misspellings or awkward layouts. Read carefully if you see these signs. Next, they say consider the photos. False news stories often contain manipulated images or videos. Sometimes the photo may be authentic, but taken out of context. You can search for the photo or image to verify where it came from. Next, they say inspect the dates. False news stories may contain timelines that make no sense or event dates that have been altered. They also say to check the evidence. Check the author's sources to confirm that they are accurate. Lack of evidence or reliance on unnamed experts may indicate a false news story. They say to look at other reports. If no other news source is reporting the same story, it may indicate that the story is false. If the story is reported by multiple sources you trust, it's more likely to be true. Next, they say to ask yourself, is this story a joke? Sometimes false news stories can be hard to distinguish from humor or satire. Check whether the source is known for parody and whether the story's details and tone suggest it may just be for fun. And lastly, they say some stories are intentionally false. Think critically about the stories you read and only share news that you know to be credible. Another example of algorithms being used for fake news is the Google example. Google uses a trademark, proprietary, mostly secret algorithm called PageRank, which assigns each web page a relevancy score based on factors such as the frequency and location of keywords within the web page. If the keyword only appears once within the body of the page, it will receive a low score for that keyword. They also ask how long the web page has existed. People create new web pages every day. Google places more value on pages with an established history. The number of other web pages that the link to the page in question is another thing that Google looks at. They see how many web pages link to a particular site to determine its relevance. Fake news meme sharing becomes more widely spread due to the use of this algorithm. What are my thoughts? Well, I think people shouldn't always believe what they read. I personally utilize a fact-checking website prior to sharing a story on social media. We all know that bad news travels quicker than good news. The more something is liked, commented on, or shared, the greater the risk factor, because this is the data that is collected by algorithms. And this data is used to determine what we see on our social media sites. And I enjoy this image. It says, if all news is fake news and no news is good news, then how do we know if bad news is true news? Let that sink in for a moment. And this is the slide that shows the references that I used in the creation of this PowerPoint. I hope you enjoyed it.